As lunch bell ring, everybody run, come gather round in the square, ready fi have fun. On a ring game time, on a hide and seek. Give me some fun squares with nacho cheese. Fun squares with nacho cheese. A fun cracker that we need. Bold flavor, yes indeed. Give me some fun squares with nacho cheese. Fun squares with nacho cheese. Fun squares with nacho cheese. The fun cracker that we need. National Fun Squares with nacho cheese. National Fun Square, share the fun.
Talk Up Yout is powered by National Baking Company in association with Cranwatha, a Stanley and Empress production, giving the youth a voice.
Talk Up Yout, myself a Talk Up Yout.
And so we come to know these youths and show these youths. Talk up youths, help the youths to know them roots. Nurture them, protect and love and hear these youths. Music make them know I love we show these youths.
Mr. Save the youth, I kill the youth, I talk up youth, I build the youth, I trick and fool and fill the youth, I talk up youth, I build the youth, empower and then skill the youth, I talk up youth, I build the youth, talk up youth in Jamaica, we are
Build the youths there.
talk up youth in Jamaica.
Blessings, my people, my people, my people. We here at Talk Up Yout and Stanley and Empress Production believe there is an urgent need for young people, parents, officials, and other stakeholders to understand the relationship between the youth and their different communities. Out of many, we strive to be truly one. And our vision is to build a better Jamaica with unity, cooperation, and mutual respect across all community lines. How can community be defined? Does the old uptown-downtown divide and stereotype still exist? Let us hear from the youth, their thoughts on the different influences, motivations, and obstacles standing in the way of our future as a cohesive, prosperous country so we can transform society and help all communities reach their full potential. That's what we want to achieve. So, Talk Up Yout. Your voice is important. Take charge of your community.
A community can be a physical space within which a group of individuals live, work, and play, and it can also be a shared interest or a shared characteristic amongst a group of individuals, for example, the Rasta community or perhaps a Hispanic or Italian community in the US. I believe that a lot of people have forgotten that it is a basic human need for us to feel like we are loved and to feel like we belong somewhere. And like they say, no man is an island. And so I think a problem that our youth are facing today is that they don't feel support from people around them, whether it's their peers, whether it's people in older generations. They just don't feel like they have the support system to take on any endeavor that they need to in life. Whatever you want to excel at, it's going to take a team of people to help to get you there. And I believe that we need to stop being so selfish and we need to look into the interest of other people and realize that life is not just about receiving this love and belongingness, but also about giving it.
Community involvement plays an integral role in the identity framework or the foundation or even formation of any individual. Now, identity foundation or even formation. Who am I? What am I? What do I stand for? What do I accept? Do I have a stance? All this is fostered by the community involvement. And as such, in my community, I have realized that there's a high level of low esteem, low self-confidence, and so I see individuals resorting to bleaching, skin bleaching. Why is it that we can't accept who we are for what we are? Black, mighty, powerful, up, you mighty race.
All right, so community is something that's very important for reducing crime and violence, but the problem is that you cannot control what community you're born into. If you're born into an uptown community, you're gonna have certain advantages over a downtown community. So what the real thing is how to find other ways to make community that is outside of your circumstances of birth. And I think that's the real issue that we're having in Jamaica, is how to build those communities properly, whether it's through an education system, whether it's through religion. And I think we need to be more focused on how we can build community outside of circumstances of birth.
A community is important for the well-being of our youth, especially, and it disturbs me when we have persons having this stereotypical meaning of communities as it relates to the uptown and the downtown. Though we have other communities, we have the school community, the church community, but as it relates to the uptown and downtown stigma, persons will say that, oh, you're from uptown, so that person has the ability to be able to access more resources to better themselves in life, whilst the downtown person does not have all these options. Therefore, you may find them dropping out of school early, turning to negative violence, scamming, whatever it is. So we need to realize that our communities, the persons in our communities, need to help our youth so that we don't have a stigma, so that there isn't any stereotyping, so that everybody can actually be one.
Personally, I didn't really grow up in any form of community or community in a physical sense, because I grew up in an area where I had a lot of land but very few neighbors, and I didn't really get a chance to foster that spirit of kindness. It was not until I went to church, actually, that I was exposed to love and certain emotions, and that's when I went into the world and realized that the world that I'm living in now, especially in Jamaica, there is so much social stratification, because I did not know what was downtown or uptown, but as soon as I went into the world, I realized that, hey, it's either going to be uptown, downtown, there's no middle ground, and I couldn't just be in the middle. So it's almost like they're forcing me to choose whether to be uptown or downtown. Pick a side, you're neither, but just choose a side, pretend, basically be fake. And I think that that's the major problem we're having, that social stratification, that invisible white line that nobody wants to cross. And I think that it's time that we cross that line.
Many times where we stand financially separates us and it puts us at a disadvantage. I think even where in some lower class communities, a lot of the youth have to do a lot of illegal activities just to get by. And I was reading something the other day with a guy from the Peace Management Initiative saying that a lot of the youth who are doing the killing are from the age 16, 22 to 22. And I mean, it puts even the upper class community at a disadvantage, where persons would assume that they don't need that much help because they have money and because they're financially already. But we have to, I mean, we're not considering the fact that no man is an island, I think.
We all realize that our communities need to do better. Stay tuned for more.
We have to build the youths there.
Talk youth in Jamaica.
There is no other bun like this one. The flavor is so good. Who say bun can't sweet? Oops, mind you bite your finger.
National spiced buns, baked with national pride.
My wow moment.
My wow moment.
My wow moment.
Kind of water with wow.
That's my wow. That's my wow.
Yeah.
Water we do watch out.
My wow moment when I get the highest massage. That's my wow. Water with wow.
When we get 16 at maths, I never expect so much. That's my wow.
Kind of water with wow. When school over, I'ma get for me. Yeah. That's my wow.
Water with wow.
When I get my box food, that's my wow. Kind of water with wow.
Water with wow.
Your future come first, talk the truth, talk the truth. Youths in a caucus out, wanna score, oh. If you want be cute, try get high grades, not high grade.
Get high grades in your brain and not in your lungs, a strip on IV. Don't blind your vision with smoke and let the tell your friends themselves to stop doing.
Criminalization don't mean it legalized. You can still be penalized. Why you penalizing your lungs with ganja? Hey, youths be wise.
Youths know the facts. Follow us at Drug Free JA. Brought to you by the National Council on Drug Abuse.
We have to build the youths there.
Talk youth in Jamaica.
Matthew, that point you raised about the upper class not needing help as well. I'll assume that you
needing
mean
help as well.
economic/financial help. I'm a lower school girl, and perhaps I did CXC, say June, and now results are out. Perhaps I failed all my subjects, and I have no more income to sustain me to say, okay, let me go to sixth form, or let me go to another institution to further or to redo these subjects, because that subjects are very costly nowadays. In the case of an upper class individual, as yourself, example, you get 5/5s, example, in CXX, CXC, Scape, you name it, then automatically you go to IRRQ, City and Guilds, better yet, pre-university. Based on what? Strings that are pulled for whom? The upper class? I think not. In our situation in the downtown or lower socioeconomic background situation, we do not have any of those privileges, and I'd really like for you to reconsider that point, because where concerns inequality, it is high. When concerns inequity, it is also blatantly high.
I think the conflict right now just spread because you're making the assumption that every single person in an upper class community would have the connections to move on, because money alone doesn't do it these days. Well, since the birth of time, money alone doesn't really do it. What people need are friendships, relationships, connections to go on. And what I said was that no man is an island. What normally happens is that because a person would come from an upper class community, someone else would make the assumption that they don't need them. They already have it, they're there already. But the thing is, we still need other persons to go on.
I think it's a problem that a lot of people have, especially in Jamaica, that we tend to watch people, we watch what they do a lot. And because he's up here and, oh, he's way above me, I'm not going to ever reach there, so I must cuss him and try and drag him down to me. But why not try and pull yourself up to their level and not try to drag people down? I think, honestly, if you're not aiding somebody at all, don't drag them down. Don't interfere with somebody because they might be richer than you. If you really have that drive, if you really want to be successful, you know you're not going to get 5/5s because you're not going to be able to do them over. You're going to need that government subsidy. So ensure you use that government subsidy and get your 5/1s. Simple as that.
You can't deny, though, that an uptown girl or boy's issue is not the same as a downtown boy or girl's issues. And it's a much bigger deal to be worrying about what food you're going to be putting on the table versus whatever daddy issues or what makeup you're going to wear that evening. It's different.
It's true that you should really look upwards, but it is difficult for the downtown youth seeing so many of the people who maybe go to a school with him, like a high school where like primary and prep schools blend. To see a youth who is your age but from a more wealthy community excel in certain ways can foster feelings of envy, can foster feelings of wanting to be violent. So I think it's important for uptown youth or anybody who is preaching on this message to acknowledge that, yes, it is natural to want to feel like you should go out there and thief what you want to get and all of these things, but you need to suppress that. You need to have self-control and you need to be a long-term thinker. So that will only benefit you in the short term. You possibly might go to prison. When you think long-term, you have to suppress those feelings of, you know, I just can't take how my life is because I'm from downtown or whatever. And you just need to realize that, you know, have a real conversation with an uptown youth who doesn't judge, you know, of course. Have a real conversation and talk about your future.
But that poor youth also need to remember that he now has to be his motivator. He has to sit down and say, all right, I'm not supposed to bring down Anya. I am going to try and work as hard as Anya. I want to become the doctor as Anya, but I don't have the money. But you're just going to keep that positive mindset because you don't have anybody else to back you. So you have to be there for yourself. If you're not there for yourself in the first place, you have already lost the race, maybe.
And I think that's where community comes in, because it's hard to be there for yourself when nobody else is there for you. So everybody needs to be looking out for everybody else. Yes. Think about yourself. Everything starts from within, and then you will radiate positivity outwards. So think of yourself in that sense, but know that the only purpose in you developing yourself is to really serve everybody else.
I think we keep waiting on people to do things for us. Why not go out there and...
Right.
Because I know a lot of people who, they might come from an uptown area, but you'll never know that they're uptown because they interact with every single person they come to. So I think we need to stop seeing ourselves as, oh, I'm from this community, oh, I'm uptown, but I'm Jamaican. And not only because I'm Jamaican, I'm a child of this universe. You're also there. I'm not going to hold you back. I'm not going to say that it isn't unfair because grandma always said donkey roll on a level. But the fact is, I'm going to help you play the cards you have. I'm going to help you work with what you have. And when I reach the top now, I'm not going to just look down on you and say, all right, you help me reach this, so you can go on with your business now. But I'm going to pull you up with me, and I think that we need to get to that level.
Sorry, I think it's really easy to preach from a place of privilege or to, preach from a bubble and say, oh, come up with this negative connotation of, oh, this is the lower class person and this is the upper class person. The lower class person must behave like this to the upper class person, and the upper class person must be charitable once they have reached their upper echelons. But I think more logically and strategically, how do we level the playing field in a way that offers more opportunities to everybody instead of sticking with these stereotypes that we have of uptown or downtown, which are really boring and not very important?
I think a way to level the playing field is to really focus on a more virtual sense of a community, which isn't so much, oh, we're located here geographically and these are the conditions because back in the slave days, the masters, inhabited this land and then all the slaves were in that back alley somewhere. When we focus on things like, hey, I like robotics even though I'm from Tivoli, and I like robotics even though I'm from Cherry Gardens, and we form a robotics team. Or this person likes literature, and so you form a community around books and reading. We need to form communities based on common interests and just shared activities that we find that our peers end up doing. And I think that's the beauty of school is you have, all these clubs. You have, Girl Guides, and you have say a computer science club, and all of these things will really, it will take some time, and some people are stubborn, but really I think that is the future, is to just look at these common grounds that we have in our psyches, not so much as our physical realities, and that is what will just kind of level the playing field, no matter what your economic status is.
There's a lot of talk about uptown and downtown, but can we define physically? Because, seeing is believing. Yeah. What is uptown? What is downtown? Now, my view, I don't know about anybody else, but I think that there's a very graphic image of the social divide, because uptown is always pictured as somebody on a hill, and downtown is somebody on the foot of the hill. And it's always like that person on the foot of the hill needs to try and run all the way up. It's almost like trying to run at a 90-degree angle, which is basically impossible. And I think that's the image we portray. We portray downtown as, and I don't like to use the word ghetto, but a lot of people use it as a place with a lot of garbage, zinc roofs. Everywhere you go, you see zinc and crime and violence. And I don't see a lot of people mentioning the mindset of the people. It's not necessarily the physical aspects, because a lot of people who, as Rex Netuford once said, a butu in a Benz is still a butu. Not being harsh, but it's the reality of it. So somebody might be in an area where, there are a lot of beautiful trees, I have a chimney. Jamaicans only use chimney, but you put it up just because. But the fact of the matter is their mindset isn't really where it ought to be, and then they're the people who put on this front. They pretend that they're rich when really they're not rich.
There's actually some good in the downtown area, because in that area, you will find persons socializing more with each other. You'll go into a downtown area and you'll see kids outside playing. Mm-hmm. You hardly find that uptown. We are always inside our houses. And there's this anti-social ambience up in the uptown area. When you go downtown, it's nothing like that. In the downtown, you actually have families who will actually look out for other families. They will look out for their neighbors' children. Them should I say, him come home from school yet, how many see me yet? Those things, it does happen, but I hardly would see that happen in the uptown area. So for me, I actually think that the downtown actually is more of a community in some cases.
So from this discussion, we see that there are many pros and cons to being uptown or downtown, however you may define it. Stay tuned and come back after the break.
We have to build the youths there.
Talk youth in Jamaica.
As lunch bell ring, everybody run, come gather round in the square, ready to have fun. On a ring game time, on a hide and seek. Give me some fun squares with nacho cheese. Fun squares with nacho cheese. A fun cracker that we need. Bold flavor, yes indeed. Give me some fun squares with nacho cheese. Fun squares with nacho cheese. Fun squares with nacho cheese. The fun cracker that we need. National fun squares with nacho cheese.
National Fun Square. Share a square, share the fun.
My wow moment.
My wow moment.
My wow moment.
Kind of what? That's my wow.
That's my wow.
Yeah.
Watch how we do it. Watch out.
spice massage. That's my wow. What's up with the wow?
When we get 16 and maths, I never expect so much. That's my wow.
I know what's up with the wow. When school over, I'ma get forgot me out. That's my wow.
Water with the wow.
From me get my back food, that's my wow. Can water with wow.
Water with the wow.
Your future come first, talk the truth, talk the truth. Youths in a caucus out, wanna score, oh. If you want be cute, try get high grades, not high grade.
Get high grades in your brain and not in your lungs, a strip on IV. Don't blind your vision with smoke and let the tell your friends themselves to stop doing.
Criminalization don't mean it legalized. You can still be penalized. Why you penalizing your lungs with ganja? Hey, youths be wise.
Youths know the facts. Follow us at Drug Free JA. Brought to you by the National Council on Drug Abuse.
There is no other bun like this one. The flavor is so good. Who say bun can't sweet? Oops, mind you bite your finger.
National Spiced Buns, baked with national pride.
We have to build the youths there.
Talk youth in Jamaica.
Whatever community you belong to or feel comfortable in, the important thing to take away is that you do need the support system around you to do whatever it is that you want in life. And so you should ignore stereotypes that exist. I mean, they do exist for a reason, but you should not focus on it so much because there's so much potential in the individual minds that are in your environment. So you can bond on many things that just completely transcend things like being from the uptown or the downtown. There's also actually some strengths from the downtown, as Letitia said, that you can take away, like everybody looking out for each other. You know, a lot of people might be living in one household and, you know, everybody knows each other's business and you might feel a lack of privacy, but sometimes that is a good thing and sometimes that's what you need. So just be a little less selfish and be more selfless and give of yourself and your strengths to the community you're a part of.
So I think community in Jamaica is crucial to reducing crime and violence, and I think we need to focus on having different communities outside of socioeconomic backgrounds and creating communities in sense of virtual world, as was said before, or in terms of education. And I think the great equalizer is in education. If you're thinking of public spaces where you can bring people from uptown, downtown, rural, you know, city into one place, it's your education system. Everyone goes to school. So what we really need to be focusing on is creating a better education system that brings different people from different classes and different backgrounds together to be creating a more varied and better community system.
I think it is important for communities to have active community centers because it will help our youth a lot, especially those who do not have it, those who are poor. When they will get the opportunity to go to the community center and learn, maybe even learn a skill. So let us try and build on our community centers.
So yes, community centers need to be installed within our communities, yes. And also we need to have a holistic value system. Bleaching being an ongoing issue in our country, I believe that the Jamaican community, what we need now is to reinforce the lessons, the values of, self-acceptance, self-confidence, strong belief in self, strong belief in background. Who am I? What do I stand for? Where am I going? Because it's not about where you're from, it's where you're going. Chronix has said it. A lot of artists have said it. Success is not an overnight thing. So it takes dedication, again, it takes hard work, it takes, motivation, it takes discipline, morality, and at the end of the day, we will achieve.
It was once said to educate a man academically and not morally is to educate a man to society. I believe that the school system is the perfect platform to unite people of several different communities to come together and break that invisible line, remove that line completely. Let's end social stratification. It starts in our education system.
I think we need to focus more on being better Jamaicans instead of focusing on these select communities per se. So I think we really need to unite and try to form a vision, one vision that we can all focus on together. I believe in those development centers. I think if we really, because the police commissioner was saying once that a lot of these our communities are unstructured, hence we can't necessarily create a space where all communities can fall under one policy. So I think these development centers that we may install in communities will allow us to go forth with one vision and one plan and unite as Jamaicans, just as how we unite with the Olympics or these other things, or music. We can go forward with one vision and one aim, one mission out of many one people.
So we've heard some of the negative and positive stereotypes attached with community in Jamaica. We've heard some of the solutions, education and community centers, and now we'll hear from our poet.
Get to youths, we are go rise. We are go overcome depression and strive. Put in the work no matter how it hard fight. And in the end we are go make them realize. Make me tell you this. We not stay in this for long. Just like our heroes them say strong. Do what is right, what will uplift you. No bad that do the wrong. Just go on working at the mess to make it result in a stress. And at the day when you win, you can finally progress. We are go rise. We are go overcome depression and strive. Put in the work no matter how it hard fight. And in the end we are go make them realize. Youths, we have to make it. Mr. Youths, we are go rise. Youths, we have to make it. Mr. Youths, we are going to rise. Oh, I'm going to tell you, get to youths, we are going to rise. We are going to overcome depression and strive. Put in the work no matter how it hard fight. And in the end, we are going to make them realize. Talk up, youths.
We have to build the youths there.
Talk up youth in Jamaica.
Talk Up Yout is powered by National Baking Company in association with Cranwassa, a Stanley and Empress production, giving the youth a voice.
As lunch bell ring, everybody run, come gather round in the square, ready fi have fun. On a ring game time, on a hide and seek. Give me some fun squares with nacho cheese. Fun squares with nacho cheese, a fun cracker that we need. Bold flavor, yes indeed. Give me some fun squares with nacho cheese. Fun squares with nacho cheese. Fun squares with nacho cheese, the fun cracker that we need. National fun squares with nacho cheese.
National Fun Square, share a square, share the fun.